Greetings brethren, CloakingDonkey here, bringing you yet another guide for classic Dark Age of Camelot, and today we're going to look at the 1 to 20 leveling experience for the realm of Hibernia. So first off, we'll go over all the starting towns that get you from 1 to 5, and then I will go through two paths to get from 5 to 20, one being a solo route and the other being a route for group leveling. Dark Age of Camelot does not have an overarching questing system. There are quests in Dark Age of Camelot, but they are very few and far between and are generally a little bit longer and are just there to provide you with some really good rewards. Your general leveling is more done by killing, and from level 1 to 20, your character can perform kill tasks. A kill task is a simple job where you get the name of a monster in a certain direction, and then you go in that vague direction, kill that specific monster, and return for an XP and money reward. The way this works is at the moment when you accept your task, a mob that cons blue to you is selected from monsters within a certain range around the task giver. However, this happens exactly at the moment of you accepting the task. So if while you are looking for the monster, somebody else kills that monster, you might actually have to wait for a respawn, if you can't find another one that matches its description. The way you take a task is by going up to a named guard and typing /whisper task. You can also turn this into a macro by typing /macro space task space /whisper space task. And that will put a little button on your mouse cursor that you can then put on your hotbar. Remember that you can only gain a certain amount of experience per level from kill tasking. So at some point you will just have to fill out the rest of your level by just killing stuff. On the screen you see that part of the Hibernia overland map that is relevant for you leveling from level 1 to 20. Between Luchderg and Connacht lies the main city of Tir na nO, and Tir na nO is certainly an important place for you to keep in mind because it has all the class trainers, it's where you can learn how to craft, it's where you have your vault, it's where you can register a last name or your guild or all of these other features that you either don't get access to anywhere else or that are in very remote locations. Tir na nO lies inside a mountain, so if you're looking for the entrance, just find the big pearly gates. You really can't miss them, they're pretty obvious. So if you're beginning your adventures in Hibernia as a Lurikine Stalker or a Firbolg Guardian or Naturalist, you will start in the town of RD in southeastern Connacht. RD isn't a particularly great starting location, and you might want to think about just moving on to Magmel, which isn't that great either, but at least in Magmel the kill task targets are a little bit closer. First, go to the well in the middle of RD and take a kill task from the named guard there. Click on the guard and either type /whisper task or hit your task macro. Then go out and kill blue monsters until you have 8 bubbles worth of experience. Then kill your task target and then return back to the guard for your reward and to ding level 2, at which point you can immediately take the next task. However, instead of taking that task, I would recommend that you take the road south to Magmel and continue your tasking to level 5 from there. If you're beginning your journey in Hibernia as a Lurikine Guardian or an Elf Stalker or Magician, then you will start in the town of Magmel in northern Luchderg. Magmel is the second best starting location in Hibernia, but only due to virtue of the other ones being much worse. There are some low-level quests here that you could take, but I would advise not taking them because they're all very annoying delivery quests that have you running around the place for really not that much reward. So first off, go to the northern guard tower in Magmel and take a kill task from the named guard by either typing /whisper task or by hitting your task macro. Go out and kill blue monsters until you have 8 bubbles, then kill your kill task target, which should bring you to 9 bubbles of experience, and then head back to the guard that gave you your task in the first place. Turn it in, that will ding you to level 2, and then immediately take the next task on level 2. If at any point you start having trouble killing blue monsters, it might be a good idea to sell some of the trash loot and use the money from the kill tasks and the trash loot to buy yourself a slightly better weapon. Don't go crazy here, just buy something that's yellow or orange that you can afford, just so your path to 5 isn't so obnoxious. And then just complete more kill tasks and kill monsters until you are level 5, at which point you want to go to Tir na nO to choose your advanced class and then train in whatever skill lines you want to use. If you began your journey in Hibernia as a Kelp Forester, a Kelp Magician, or an Elf Guardian, then you will start in the town of Howth in Silver Mine Mountains. Howth is unequivocally the single worst starting location in Hibernia, and you want to get out of here as soon as possible. So go to the entrance of Howth and locate the named guard. Click him and type /whisper task or hit your task macro, and then run off and kill annoying Lucrodons until you have 8 bubbles of experience. Then kill your task target, and then return to the guard, turn in the task to ding level 2, and do not accept another kill task. The reason you want to mostly kill annoying Lucrodons is because they drop a lot of gear, which is a really nice start for when you're low level and don't have anything yet. As soon as you are level 2, you want to leg it out of Howth, because this place is terrible for tasking, as some of the even level 2 or 3 tasks take you quite far away from Howth to even just complete them. So even though this is kind of an annoying journey, I personally think it is certainly worth it, because you will save yourself a lot of frustration. And yes, while you're spending a little bit of time running all the way down to Conla along the shore of the Shannon River, you're really just using the time you would have otherwise wasted on looking for these incredibly rare kill task target it constantly sends you to find in Howth. On the way to Conla, of course, be careful that you don't run into any nasty purple mobs. There are some along the way, but you can really dodge most of them. Also, not all of the purple mobs have to be evaded, some of them are even just neutral, so make sure to click on them and look in the combat log to see if they are even aggressive toward you. But if they are aggressive, do make sure to give them their space. If you're beginning your journey in Hibernia as a Celt Guardian, Celt Naturalist, or Lurikine Magician, which arguably is most of Hibernia, then you're going to start in the town of Conla at the western end of Shannon Estuary, and arguably pretty damn far away from civilization. However, despite being so far away from the main city and from where you want to be at level 5, Conla is still the best starting town, even though its task guard is probably going to drive you insane if you have to level any more than 1 character here. But Conla has some really nice quests that we're going to do. The first thing you want to do is grab the quest from your trainer, and then you want to immediately turn around and head east-southeast across the river to the tower you can see in the distance. When you're there, talk to Slevin and hand him the mist powder that you received from your trainer, and just turning in that quest will ding you level 2 immediately. At which point you can find yourself a purple mob somewhere at the river to suicide and head back home quicker, or you run back home and then locate Sentinel Glynis. Sentinel Glynis is a bit of a bastard because she constantly wanders around the village. She always runs oblong around the houses, but she does go both clockwise and counterclockwise sometimes, which makes it so very infuriating sometimes to find her. As soon as you locate Sentinel Glynis, click her and type /whisper task or hit your task macro. Then find the Firbolg Tafk, who stands between the 2 western houses in Conla. Take his quest and go start killing beach rats, who are all the way along the beach to the north. Do this until you find Taf's golden necklace. Then kill your task target and return to Conla to turn in both your task and the quest, and also stop by your trainer to pick up another quest from there. We are still not quite done completing the quest for Tafk, he has another step for us, and your trainer wants you to talk to Keegan the healer, who is in the easternmost hut in Conla. Talk to Keegan until he has no more options, and sends you out to kill 2 mudmen. Go behind the houses where you will find plenty of mudmen, and kill 2 of them to get the update. Now you will be at a point where you need to kill sand crabs for Taf's quest, and 1 skeletal pawn or sandman for the Conla's fever quest. So go to the shore east of the village near the boats and start killing sand crabs there, and also start looking for a sandman that might be good enough for you to kill. If you can't kill a yellow sandman or can't find a blue one, then go northeast from there and find a skeletal pawn around the wooded area. Once you've completed and turned in all of those quests and you've done your kill tasks in the meantime as well, you should now be level 4. Just continue to kill task and kill monsters until you hit level 5, at which point you will want to spend a little bit of your money to ride up to Tir Nambeo. Do so by going to the stable master to the west of the westernmost house in Conla, buy a ticket to Tir Nambeo, and then click on the ticket in your inventory and drop it onto the stable master, at which point you will be placed on a horse. This horse rides to Tir Nambeo by itself. As soon as you're on the horse, do not ever hit your spacebar until you are there. If you jump off the horse and your ticket will be gone, so you will have wasted 5 silver. That might not be very much at the higher levels, but at lower levels it's quite the fortune. And this should also make apparent why we did all of these quests, even though they didn't really reward any items, because they rewarded quite a bit of money, and that's going to pay for us actually getting to Tir Nano. From Tir nan Beo you still will have to run up north along the road to get to Magmel and Tir nan No, where you can then choose your advanced class and train in your specializations. Getting from Conla to Tir nan No is a little bit annoying, but it is still a much better start than starting anywhere else in Hibernia. In general, I would always advise you to try and level your character in groups as much as possible, because 1, the social aspect makes the leveling less annoying, and 2, if the group isn't terrible, it's usually a lot more efficient than leveling by yourself. However, if you want to level by yourself or you're playing one of the classes that doesn't find groups so easily, then you want to continue from level 5 to 20 with more kill tasking. You can only do kill tasking from level 1 to 20, and as such you want to do it as much as possible because it actually gives you quite a bit of a good pool of starting money. From level 5 to 10, you just want to task in Magmel. Some of the kill tasks take you a little bit further away in the direction of Tir nan Beo, but Magmel is still the best starting location. If you were to task in Tir nan Beo, it would sometimes even take you down into Silvermine Mountains, which is just horrible. So really just stay in Magmel from 5 to 10, you will have the best tasking experience in your first 10 levels. From 10 to 12 you want to task in Howth. There really are only 4 mobs you're ever sent for in Howth, and they're all in the same location, which is southwest, across the river. If you walk south along the river until you hit the stone bridge and then cross it, you will have all the mobs you will ever need for your kill tasks right in front of you. It's a really convenient location, but it only lasts for 2 levels. From 12 to 18, you want to be tasking at the Brynach Tower. The Brynach Tower is in the Valley of Brelith, and it's just kind of called that because the closest town to this tower is Brynach, which is a little bit further along the road to the northeast. Brynach also makes a really good binding location if you are tasking here, because it has a healer, a smith, a merchant, and a horse master that will bring you directly to Tir nan No if you need to train. Brynach Tower is an excellent tasking location that has pretty much all of your task targets very close, and you don't really need to walk very far at all. It's an excellent way to level, and some classes can even come here at level 11, when a lot of the mobs that you need to kill are still kind of yellow. As soon as you hit level 18, you want to pack your bag and ride down to Inniscarhi. It's a little bit out of the way and a pain to get there, but it is absolutely the best way to task on these last 2 levels. All the other locations have you running all over the place, and it gets really obnoxious. The best way to get there is riding from Magmel to Howth, and then from Howth directly to Inniscarhi. Definitely make sure to bind yourself in Howth, because there is no bindstone in Inniscarhi. If your gear gets grey and you need to replace it to even be able to still kill blues, you will have to buy it either from a vendor, which isn't necessarily all that great because that gear only has 85% quality, or you will usually have to venture into a dungeon. There are 2 decent dungeons for soloing in Hibernia for this low level range, and one of them is Muira Tomb. Muira is an absolute hellhole of aggro, and it's really not very fun to group level there, but for soloing it's actually kind of okay. And the thing that makes Muira such a pain in the ass for groups, which is its incredibly wide level range, actually makes it quite a good dungeon for solo players, because you can run in there from 12 to 19 and find stuff to kill. The other dungeon in Hibernia is the Spraggan, which is northwest of Howth. There are some lower level mobs in Spraggan that start at about level 17 or 18, but they are crappy little worms that don't drop any equipment, so there's really not much point to you going there. You might as well just task somewhere else. From level 20, however, when there's no more tasks, it's absolutely a great idea to solo in Spraggan, because there's tons of various Spraggans in there that all have a really good loot table for various classes. And from then on, if you want to level by yourself, it's killing stuff that's yellow for you or going into dungeons. The slightly more sensible way of leveling at these lower levels is to group. And I will say that grouping in Hibernia at these lower levels isn't always as straightforward as it is in some of the other realms. There are some glaring gaps in mobs that you will have to somehow fill. However, this does not apply for the low levels. There are a lot of options for you to killing stuff pretty much right away. The first of these is water beetles. Water beetles exist in all sorts of level variations, all along Loch Derg and down the Shannon River. These things seriously are everywhere, and they exist all the way from level 5 water beetles to level 12 water beetles. Which means you kind of have to look around to find the ones that your group is able to kill. And as soon as you hit level 6 and you're in a decent group that can take them on, you should absolutely go and kill Blackthorns and Lunantishes. These mobs are linked, so when you're in a group you will always get a bunch of them, but they also come in little patrols, and if you pull one of those patrols even by yourself, you will get the entire patrol. However, Blackthorns and Lunantishes have absurdly low hit points, so they are really quick to kill, and that makes them very good experience indeed. From 8 to 10 you can kill the Curmudgeons in their little camp east of Magmel. They have a bit of a level range themselves, but they're all over the place there and are kind of a nice spot to level. From 9 to 11 you have two choices. You can either kill the Ronin Maidens and Companions at the shore east of Magmel, or go along the Zorn border to the north through the forest and kill the Moss Sheeries you will find behind there. This kind of just depends on the type of group you are running. Moss Sheeries are really good to kill, however they all have roots, so they kind of screw with melee groups a little bit. Ronin Maidens on the other hand are a bit resistant to magic damage, so in general I would say if you're a melee group, go and kill Ronin Maidens, and if you're a casting group, try your hand at Moss Sheeries. But even a melee group can handle Moss Sheeries if you work at it a little bit. Now, one of the biggest problems with Hibernia is that there's not a lot of overlap from 10 to 20. There are a lot of spots where you just kind of have to stay them out, which means you have to stay there until they're orange and yellow, making the last level you have to level there a little bit obnoxious. And the first time this happens is with Ronin Maidens and with the Moss Sheeries. Some of them will be orange or even yellow, and it'll be kinda crappy experience in the end, but you can only go to the Durgans and their friends in the forest when you are level 11. Before that, there's just some of those high level ones that will just destroy your group. And now it's even worse, because there really isn't anything good for level 13 that I have found. Maybe somewhere really far off the beaten track that I just haven't been able to track down yet, but I've never really found anything particularly great. The next spot, the Parthenons, are still a bit too tough and sometimes will just wipe you if you get a bunch of high level ones. And if you stay at the Durgans, your experience is gonna be a bit poor. So I'm kind of going to have to leave this problem up to you. Either stay at the Durgans and, well, take a little bit longer, or go to the Parthenons and be susceptible to wiping. Speaking of Parthenons, they are the next thing you want to kill. From 14 to 16, Parthenons are absolutely great to kill. However, you definitely want to bring someone who can cure disease. Parthenons exist in various spots throughout Hibernia, however I would always suggest the one in northwestern Connaught, because you can bind at the Tirnano Gates, which is relatively close, but at the same time you continue to have a lot of cool spots in this same zone, which means you don't have to ride around too much and potentially lose group members who are sick of, constantly switching spots. From 15 to 17 you can easily kill the Fishing Bears just north of the bridge, which itself is north of RD in Connaught. With 16 you can take on the Ironwood Saplings in northwestern Connaught, and you can stay here till about level 18. These are particularly great to hunt if you have a bunch of slashing damage and heat damage in your group. And then the last good spot you're going to find before level 20 are the Cluricons just south of the Ironwood Saplings. You can stay here till level 20, but I wouldn't recommend it. I think the last level 19 to 20 you should absolutely go to the Spraggan Den, which is one of the dungeons, and we'll get to them now. While leveling up, you also have the choice of two dungeons. The first one being Muiratomb, which you can do from 10 to 15. However, I would not do Muiratomb in a group. I think Muiratomb is probably the worst dungeon for a group in the game, because there's a lot of linked mobs that you just can't really anticipate, and sometimes you simply get attacked through the wall, or mobs come running through half the dungeon to attack you. It's just such an obnoxious place, and there's a lot of wipes in it. It's simply a little bit better as a solo dungeon, but toward level 14 and 15, if your group is strong, you might be able to deal with the problems that the dungeon throws at you. The other dungeon of note is the Spraggan Den down in Silvermine Mountains, northwest of Howth. You can go into the Spraggan Den starting at level 17, which will let you kill the first couple of Spraggans. And you can stay there all the way to level 22. Spraggan Den is certainly something that you probably shouldn't miss with a group, because you can get quite a lot of really good equipment for pretty much every member in your group. If you have a particularly strong setup, you can even go here at level 16. Alright guys, and that is how you get from level 1 to 20 in Hibernia. I hope you enjoyed this guide, and if you did, please consider giving it a like, and also consider subscribing to my channel for more gaming, history, and mythology content. And if you're looking for any of my other classic DAoC guides, do look up in the right corner of the screen for the cards and also for all the links in the description that will take you to the other realms guides. But until then, I've been the CloakingDonkey and I'll see you in another video.